I don't ever want people to think that with me sharing my story, it's about me getting attention, and it's not. It's about sharing the reality of what people might be living through that you don't get, that you don't understand, and you don't know is happening behind closed doors.
Sarah Sherman is the founder of the charity We're Here For You, which provides comfort kits to survivors of sexual assault and intimate partner violence. She was driven to start the charity due to the events that happened to her during her marriage to Jeff Bethel.
So I was 20 when I met my first husband. I met him around 10 p.m., October 8th, 1986, in a nightclub. And I always remember that because he asked my friend to dance first. All of a sudden, I was in a relationship, and it just sped up really quickly. Like he was there, and he moved in and kind of took control. It was really my first boyfriend. Like I'd had a couple 1-month relationships, and because I grew up in a very religious background and I wasn't allowed to date. Incidents would happen, people would see them, and I would just avoid those people in the future so that they didn't know what was happening with me.
What might people not expect about Jeff?
They might not expect that he was very funny. He could be very charming when he wanted to be, and he could be very kind, seems the wrong word, but at the time it felt like kindness. And he was my best friend. And it's hard to say that to people when they hear the story, but he was my best friend at that time.
I knew a week before that I shouldn't marry him, and so I wasn't very excited about the wedding, but I was also more embarrassed to cancel it because people had traveled to get there, had spent money. And then as we were at the wedding, we were about getting ready to walk down the aisle, my dad turned to me and he said, "You don't have to do this." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You don't have to get married." And I said, "Well, that's really rude." And, I just deflected what he was saying instead of going with it. He was giving me an out, and I could have taken it, and I didn't. I was too afraid because I already knew how violent he could be. I knew what he had said about things that had happened to other people that had left him, how he never got over them and how it would kill him if I left him. So I went ahead and I got married.
After the wedding, Jeff and Sarah had 2 children together. In the coming years, Jeff's mental health continually declined.
He started to think that the whole world was against him, and I always called it his personal conspiracy theory. He just really always thought everybody was out to get him, and in the whole time I knew him, he never went to a doctor or a therapist or anything. And amidst all of this, September 11th happened, and that just completely knocked him over. He would spend 24 hours a day just watching CNN, and he just completely, his mental health was gone. He would just rant and rave all the time. All the time there was things thrown around the house, or him slamming into the yard, or squealing out with his tires, and we never felt safe anymore.
Sarah filed for divorce after Jeff brutally choked her in front of their kids.
He would try to make me lose jobs. He would show up at our house at any time of day or night, and then he would leave, and I would think he was gone. But he would do things like he would drive his car away because it was quite loud, and then he'd walk back, and he'd start staring in the windows of the house. Or I'd hear footsteps on the roof, and I would look up, and he was looking at me through the skylights.
The police arrested Jeff and put a restraining order on him. Sarah's current husband, Len, was the best man at Sarah and Jeff's wedding. Were you able to foresee how bad it got?
Not to the degree that it got to. It's funny, I saw Jeff about a week before he died. And I talked to him. I said, "Hey, you got a great wife, you have a nice family, what's wrong with you?" And he says, "I don't know, I just can't stop myself. I can't stop myself."
November 8th, 2004, I walked in the front door and I locked the door to be safe. And no sooner had I locked the door and put my purse down and turned, then he jumped out from the top of the stairs with a butcher knife at me.
Jeff proceeded to physically and sexually assault Sarah. He tied her up and told her that he was going to pick up their children from school, then kill them, Sarah, and himself. When Jeff left the house, Sarah escaped and called the police.
He walked into the school and apparently was just smiling and looking fine. Nobody detected anything. My daughter saw him and ran up to him and was like, "Hi, Daddy." And he picked her up and he's smiling and says hi to the teacher and walks out with the other parents. He got in the driver's seat and then 57 seconds later, he drove head-on into another vehicle.
When Jeff saw a police vehicle behind him, he drove into another car. In the resulting car wreck, a child died and the driver needed major rehabilitation. A third vehicle was also hit, leaving one of the people inside permanently injured. Jeff was killed in the collision, but their child survived. Following the attack, Sarah was taken to the hospital to have a sexual assault forensic exam.
And the nurse did the exam, which takes several hours. And they do a very good job, but it's a terrible experience. When I was finished, they had nothing for me, and I had nothing to wear. So they had no underwear, clothing, anything. And it was awful. And so that's why I do what I do now, because I don't want anyone to ever feel that way again.
Heather Nielsen Furrow is helping with a group of women putting together comfort kits. She's the COO of We're Here For You and a close friend of Sarah's.
So each comfort kit, so there's the basic toiletries, shower soap and shampoos, conditioners, combs, SANE nurses, sexual assault nursing examiners. They deal with the patients, and what they do is they determine what the needs are for each patient. So if one patient has had to leave a situationship where they've had to leave all their purse or wallet behind and they don't know how to get from point A to B with gas and whatnot, then they can get a gas card. Sometimes some people need to have a few minutes to stop and think, and they don't have any money with them, or they've been restricted on their money, so they get a gift card to go maybe to Tim Hortons and get a coffee and calm down and figure out what their next steps are. And we also provide the nurses with clothing items such as pants and shirts, because in a lot of cases, if they've had to have examinations, they've had to leave that for DNA or evidence. Nobody wants to walk out in paper booties or a hospital shirt. This way it kind of makes them anonymous and they come out looking just like everybody else. They've just suffered, the most tragic thing to happen to them in their lives, and they don't want that kind of attention.
In early 2025, during International Women's Week, Sarah received the Minister's Award for Excellence in Championing Gender Equality.
This is an incredible honor, and I am deeply humbled and profoundly grateful. Standing in front of an audience to share my story and my work and my passion comes naturally to me, but this is just a little bit different. For much of my life, I felt unseen. I spent years either hiding in fear, feeling anxious and shy, or molding myself into what other people expected of me. It's only in the past few years that I have truly discovered who I am and found my voice. And I'm going to keep using that voice. My life is full, and now I understand what my purpose in life is. If I had to endure the life that I had to endure, I'm glad that I've been able to find something meaningful and to help others with that. For the first time, I feel truly seen, not as someone sitting on the sideline or the little girl who gets picked last or the shadow at the edge of the group, but as someone who belongs.